What is up, Waffle Gang? My name is Mark, and today we're covering some r/am I the butthole. If you want to skip that initial waffle, timestamps are in the description and along the timeline below, but if you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. And oh my word, we had another new member yesterday over on YouTube. Thank you so much. Tasman Wild, thank you for joining us. It really does help me out at the moment with everything, especially when we might be considering going full-time YouTube. And just a massive thank you for all the support from all of you just recently, for taking the time out of your day to come here and, you know, watch, get involved in Discord, on my Twitter as well. That seems to be going really well. So just thank you, you know. I'm really appreciative to each and every one of you. And with that being said, let's get into today's stories. Much love, guys. And our first story comes from No Bridge. Am I the arsehole for throwing away food my ex-wife made in front of her? We have been divorced for some time and have an 11-year-old and a 7-year-old. As long as we don't interact too much, we generally get along. This past year, she met some guy that she's really into. He's big on fitness and health, so she's getting into it too. One of the biggest changes she's made is with her eating. She does this very bullshit trendy low-carb, high-protein diet. She is now pushing it on our kids. They will eat what is offered. We had a blow up a couple of weeks ago where she said they needed to start eating more healthy, i.e. how she and her boyfriend are eating. I pointed out that she's doing a fad diet to impress some guy, which is her deal, and she could do what she wants, but I'm going to do what I want with my kids when they are with me. She went on and on about what I feed our kids are junk food, and what I feed them is not any worse than what she feeds them. Eating the Subway sandwich is probably healthier than the stuff they eat at her place when you take into consideration sodium and calories. I ended up hanging up on her. Earlier this week, she dropped them off at my house. We switched weeks, and my eldest handed me a bag of Tupperware filled food and said, "That's from Mum, she said it's for dinner." I opened one and it was some nasty shrimp salad. I took the bag outside and told her I don't need her making me dinner. She said that wasn't for me, it was for the boys. I just smiled and dumped the bag into the trash can and told her to leave. I ended up making soft tacos for dinner that night. She's been texting me for the last 2 days over it and I haven't responded. You know, I'm not saying, I might be jumping here, I might be reaching out with this comment, but I'm seeing sort of jealousy tendencies from OP here. And I'm not saying he's the only arsehole in this story because, you know, I'm personally seeing an everyone sucks here verdict. Just because, you know, these two are the adults of parents and they're acting this way in front of their children, which isn't good in the long run for anyone, right? Things need to be sat down, they need to be discussed, come to some sort of compromise. These are your kids that you're arguing in front of, and it's not good for them. And in some ways it sounds like OP is purposely going out the way just to like piss the ex off just because of what she's doing with her life now, that she's doing this healthy eating and all that kind of thing. You know, I'm sorry, but a shrimp salad is definitely more healthier than a Subway. A Subway might be great, I do love a Subway, don't get me wrong, but eating a shrimp salad is definitely way more healthy. Like I say about everything in life, moderation is key. Sure, you can have your snack food, your unhealthy foods too, but balance it out. That's the way I pretty much live my life from day to day. Moderation in everything in life, pretty much. But let's have a look at the comments below to see what they say. Privileged and White says, everyone sucks here. You both are acting childish and petty. If you didn't want her food, fine, but you're the arsehole for making a deal out of it by dumping it out in front of the kids. You're antagonising their mother in front of them, which you shouldn't do. She is overstepping a boundary by preparing meals to eat at your house. Unless you asked, she shouldn't have done that, especially knowing your stance on the diet. Trump's niece says, your ex is pushing boundaries here, but you need to be careful about despising your ex more than you love your kids. Don't talk about it or do that in front of your kids. Sammy Joe says, everyone sucks here. My issue with you is that you have been given the chance to take the food back after she clarified the food was for the boys. You're right, you didn't have to take the food, but you shouldn't have wasted the food and dishes by throwing it away. My issue with her is that when the kids are with you, they are under your care. She shouldn't try to dictate what you serve them. Also, more info is needed. Did she consult a paediatrician before putting the kids on a fad diet? That's an issue here as well. And Plant Pot Guitar says, you're the arsehole. There's not enough information to know if what she's feeding them is any more or less healthy than what you feed them. But a shrimp salad is definitely more nutritious than Subway. Maybe you do feed them equally healthy food, but resorting to childish behaviour and personal attacks about her diet choices is definitely an arsehole way of dealing with it. If you are sure your food is no worse, you could ask her for what she means by healthy, what nutrients she thinks they're not getting, etc. If they are getting that from what you feed them, then great. If not, then giving your kids more nutritionally complete foods isn't a bad thing. Either way, I think it's obvious treating your kid's mum like this when they're around is poor behaviour. You could have just not given them food, or made tacos tomorrow. Now, what do you guys think of this story? How would you deal with that situation? If you was OP and like the mum went on a diet and she was bringing food around to give to the kids, how would you approach that situation? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 1. And just to mention, there's a potential trigger in the next one. I'm not sure, it doesn't mention it too much, but there is a mention of like people with like swastika and mentions of Nazi as well. So just warning you, just in case. And this next story is from Not Training with Nazis. Am I the arsehole for refusing to train with a Nazi? So I practiced Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for a couple of years, mostly attending classes that require a gi. This means that our bodies are pretty much covered. This is important. A new dude has joined our gym recently. I saw him in a class, but I did not roll with him. Last week I attended a no-gi class, and the coach pairs me up with the new guy. New guy wears a sleeveless rash guard, lots of tattoos on both arms and legs. I look at his tattoos and there is a big black swastika on his arm. As I take a closer look, there is also a SS symbol, the one that looks like thunderbolts, some other symbols here and there, as well as like the Celtic cross. I tell my coach that I want to be paired up with someone else. Coach finds me a new partner, but after the class asks me what is wrong. I tell me that the guy has lots of Nazi tattoos and I don't roll with Nazis. Now the coach is mad at me for bringing politics into the gym. I told my coach that he is bringing politics into the gym by allowing a guy to walk around with a swastika on his arm. Some guys from the class are behind me, some think I'm making a big deal out of it. Am I the arsehole for refusing to roll with a Nazi? Edit for clarification, not in the USA. Where I come from, Europe, there are still Nazi sympathisers, a minority but a vocal minority. Also, you can easily roll with a long sleeve rash guard. The climate here allows it no need for no sleeves. Let's just take a step back on this first. Let's pretend this guy didn't have any tattoos. He was a completely normal guy, and wasn't have tattoos of hatred all over him, prick. And you know, you just didn't see eye to eye for whatever reason, and you just asked to be moved. You're allowed to. You don't have to partner with anyone if you don't want to, and you can partner with who you like. That is your choice in life. You can't be forced to partner with someone. But now, let's add the tattoos back on. Now you definitely don't have to fucking be partnered with that guy. And what is he doing in there? And I'm really surprised that your coach has turned around and said to you that you're bringing politics into the gym. How ridiculous is that? I'm afraid this guy chose to come in a sleeveless top, sporting those tattoos and showing them off to everyone. You know, he knows what he's doing there. So, fuck no, you're definitely not the arsehole in the situation, and I would even consider just moving gym completely, because that, you know, that is not on. And your coach is totally in the wrong to be backing up this other guy. And I mean, swastikas, SS symbols? Can you actually consider that politics? Just what? Oh man, what a place to be. Now, let's have a look at the comments below to see what they say. Oxbridge Comma says not the arsehole. Not wanting to associate with Nazis isn't bringing in politics, as they represent a group that believes in mass murder of minorities. Errant June says not the arsehole. What kind of psychopath thinks swastikas and SS symbols are politics? Is your coach from the 1930s? Alyssa says not the arsehole, and that's not politics, that's blatant racism. I Like Cozy Sock says, oh me too, not the arsehole. There is a big difference between bringing politics into a gym and someone emblazoning themselves with symbols of genocide, racism and hatred. No Long says not the arsehole. Admittedly, I'm Jewish, so there is bias. But regardless, if you felt uncomfortable for any reason, you're well within your right to ask to be switched. I don't feel like that kind of thing should be promoted, but I'm sure you don't really have any say in who the gym should or shouldn't allow. Mission Spray says, not the arsehole. Your coach is in the wrong, big time. You didn't bring politics into anything, and your coach not seeing how this could be a problem speaks a lot about his views. I suggest switching studios, but I know how hard it can be to find a new place and build a new relationship at a different studio. And for the new guy to have those tattoos and not want to hide them scares me that he would have the audacity and feel comfortable enough to do so, especially at a new studio. Now what do you guys think of this story? How would you have dealt with that situation if you went in there? Would you still stay at that place if, you know, they're going to allow this guy to keep going there? I'm not sure if I definitely wouldn't feel comfortable actually. I would definitely move. If he wasn't removed, I would be gone. There's no way I'd be in the same room. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 2. And our next story is from Sexy Food and Films. Am I the arsehole? I made my husband pay all the vet's bills because he blamed his stinky farts on the dog and caused unnecessary stress. We have a dog, Jerry. He's an absolute sweetheart. He has such a sweet and gentle disposition, and he doesn't have an unkind bone in his body. I love him dearly. A month ago, my husband, Jerry, and I were eating dinner when suddenly I smelled something really disgusting. My husband instantly made a face, so I knew it wasn't just me. To be honest, I'm pregnant and my sense of smell has been a little sensitive in this time. I couldn't stand the smell and left the room. Later in bed, my husband told me the dog farted. You guys, the smell was unbelievable. It honestly smelled a little like rotten eggs. I thought it was a one-off because the dog does fart, as do we, but it's never been this bad. Over the next week, the smell would come again and again at random times. I lit candles, incense, nothing worked. This whole time, I thought it was a dog and said, okay, F it, I'm going to take him to the vet. A fart this stinky isn't normal. Through all this, my husband kept silent. My vet recommended a diet change for the dog, so I changed the diet, but the stink continued. I was losing my goddamn mind, and my husband still kept his mouth shut. The vet was extremely confused and ordered a bunch of tests that cost a lot. All the tests showed that the dog was fine. I'm losing my mind here. My anxiety started kicking in. What if there's something wrong with him? What if we lose him? I'm so stressed out. It all came to a breaking point and I burst into tears, had a full-on meltdown about losing Jerry, and then, you have to understand this nonsense has been going on for 5 weeks, my husband confesses that the farts weren't the dog, but were him. Y'all, I lost it. I kicked him out of the house. He went to stay with his friends. All of our friends are on my side. To be clear, I didn't mind that he lied in the moment, but he knew we were going to the vet. The vet was confused. He even went to the vet appointments with me. It takes him a full-on panic attack and mental breakdown to say the truth. His mother, who normally thinks the sun shines out of his ass, is on my side as well. She called him, in no uncertain terms, an idiot. I let it back into the house, of course, after I cooled down. He went to the doctor about his farts and was recommended a diet change as well. I told him in no uncertain terms that he has to pay me back my half of the vet bills, out of his savings/fund money, and the household budget was not made to accommodate his bullshit. He's agreed, but isn't really happy about it. I don't particularly care about his happiness right now, to be honest. I'm not talking to him at all, but I want to know if I'm being fair by asking him to pay me back or if I'm taking it too far. Too angry to be rational right now. You know, in the first part of the story I was like, yeah, sometimes you do blame it on someone else or the dog, don't you? Because if you get a bad one, you don't want to admit to that. And you know, the dog is always a good cop out, but he took it to a whole new level. How insane is that? To go on for so long, to actually go to the vet appointments and do that. This is a married couple. Surely they farted in front of each other before. I know this one was apparently extra stinky, but come on. You don't go to vet appointments about it and spend loads of money and taking your wife to the point of breakdown before admitting to it. That is just crazy to me. It makes me think there's something so much deeper than this, which sounds insane on such a weird story like this. But again, I can't say you're the arsehole for making him pay it back, but I'd seriously look into this further because it just, and I don't want to be the typical Reddit guy and you know, go too deep on this, but there is something strange there going on. You gotta admit that, right? But Music with Roxin says, not the arsehole. That was so cruel to the dog. How many times did the vet draw blood for these tests? And man, stressing out your pregnant wife for no reason is just putting the baby at risk. He should pay all of the vet costs. He needs to grow himself some maturity before the baby gets here. And I totally forgot about that she's pregnant too, so she's going to be stressing a pregnant woman out at this. Oh man. Cultural Garbage says, not the arsehole. This brings a whole new meaning to the term, gaslighting. Username 52 says, not the arsehole, your husband is an absolute arsehole. I get blaming a fart or two on the dog. Sometimes it's embarrassing and no harm is done, if it's once in a while. I've recently found out that you will probably blame an occasional fart on the baby too. But he didn't care how upset and scared you were. He didn't care you were running back and forth to the vet. He didn't care that the dog was being put through unnecessary tests. He didn't care that your dog had to switch food. He didn't care how much money was being spent. He doesn't seem to care much about other people or animals' feelings. He should obviously pay for the vet bills, but he should also have to have a serious conversation of how big of an arsehole he was over some farts. Yes, it's embarrassing, but there's a point at which you need to admit, and he went way over that line. especially if you're going to have a kid. That kid needs to learn kindness and honesty. What a strange story, and also a concerning one at the same time. Oh dear, what do you guys think of this story? How would you have dealt with that situation if you was the wife? You know, pregnant wife, being stressed out like that. Would you have chucked him out, or would you make him pay back? How would you deal with it? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 3. And our next story is from Grumpy Purplehead. Am I the arsehole for refusing to serve the parents of a girl who bullied me at school? I, 30 female, was bullied at school badly by a group of girls. The worst of them was called Alice. She made my life hell every day. She was prettier than me, everyone liked her, and she turned most of my friends against me. I managed to expose what she was doing to me to my teachers. But as soon as that happened, her parents rushed in with fake statements from her friends and others saying she was the victim and I was the bully. She gave a huge crime performance about how terrified of me she was. I got suspended and almost got kicked out of school. Long story short, I managed to turn things around and get the truth out. It took a long time for them to expel her because she was very talented academically and was being prepped for the elite universities. She continued to cry that she was the victim and her parents kept fighting it, but they got rid of her in the end. I have no idea what happened to her, and in the end I don't care. I trained as a chef and am now assistant manager at a restaurant. I was helping out on the tables when who should walk in but Alice's parents. I was surprised but tried to avoid them. However, all of the waiters were busy, so I had to serve them. I went over and the mother instantly got at me, saying that I ruined her daughter's life and destroyed her future. I was enraged. I told her to fuck off and said it was her daughter's own fault. They complained to the restaurant owner that I was rude to them. Obviously I was. It was a stupid thing to say and I regretted it as soon as it happened. I'm not in any trouble, but my boss has given me a final warning for if I ever speak to a customer in that way again. Obviously I shouldn't have said what I said, but she was being rude and abusive and I just couldn't take it. I think most people who work in my industry can relate to having to endure that kind of abuse. Imagine that when it's someone you have a very bad personal history with. Am I the arsehole? Now, as you know from past videos, I'm someone who's been bullied in my past in high school, and I, to this day, I mean, it's some years back, man, but I still occasionally think of my bullies and I think of the way they treated me, and you know, it really upsets me to this day, and it makes me sad to think about it. And you know, you fantasize about how badly their life is right now and all that kind of thing. So putting myself in OP's shoes, I can totally understand how they must have been feeling in that moment and what they wanted to say. But at the same time, there was other ways that OP could have went about it. They could have literally just said, look, I don't want you in this restaurant, please leave. They had total right to do that, be an assistant manager, I imagine. Or simply say, I will get you another server or someone else to deal with you. I know she said that she had to at the time. They could have sat there and waited, you know, rather than having this confrontation out in the restaurant setting. And with that, I'm not meaning to downplay OP's feelings, you know, because in the heat of the moment, they probably did burst out. And, you know, in some ways, perhaps I might have acted that way too. But yes, it would still make me the arsehole for not dealing with it in a better way. But let's have a look at the comments below to see what they say. Void says, not the arsehole, you're the assistant manager. Next time, ask them to leave, as you won't be serving them. Avast says, everyone sucks here. The mum is a piece of work, and no need to rehash why. You explained it just fine, but you don't get to do that as a server. You just don't. It's unprofessional and it ruins the atmosphere of everyone in earshot, not just the person you're fighting with. You say, let me get you another server, and you go to the manager and figure out how not to interact with her. Acrosaurus Rex says, everyone sucks here. If you can't be professional, you should find another line of work. She was way out of line, and your response should have been either, we don't allow abuse from customers, or let me get another server for you. You're 30, not 13. I've served many people that I don't like, or that have treated me poorly. I still smile and give them good service. I never contaminate their food or act professional. Once had a customer ask me for a more experienced tech on a technical call. I put them on hold and transferred them to a male technician. I had an excellent mentor that told me not to take those things personally. That the actual issue was that the other person didn't like who they see in the mirror each day. And Misk Fluff says, not the arsehole, I'd looking to find a new job if they think it's okay for people to verbally abuse an employee unprovoked. Wow. What would you do in that situation? Would you just get another server to deal with it? Would you actually approach them, give them a little smile and see what they say? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 4. Once again, guys, thank you for being here today. You know, the time out of your day is always appreciated on this channel. It really does mean the world to me. It's been great the last few days, how you've been interacting with the channel. I've been loving seeing the comments and all that sort of stuff. Waffle gang. And with that being said, I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Much love.